Patrick Bateman spent every morning perfecting a face that was not his own. The skincare routine, the precisely measured cologne, the business card printed on bone-white cardstock with Cillian rail lettering. Every detail calibrated to communicate one message: I am successful, I am powerful, I matter. And by the end of American Psycho, the most disturbing realization is not that he killed people. It is that nobody noticed he existed in the first place. What you are watching is not a story about a serial killer. It is a clinical case study of what happens when a human being builds their entire identity on external validation and discovers that external validation was never real to begin with. Psychologists call this status-dependent personality dissolution. You are not Patrick Bateman. But if you have ever felt the need to prove your worth through what you own, where you work, or who you know, you are running a lighter version of the same operating system. Today, we dissect what went wrong and why an entire generation recognized themselves in a man who did not exist. Let me tell you what most people miss when they watch American Psycho. They see the violence and they conclude it is a film about a psychopath. But the violence is not the point. The violence is what Bateman does to feel something, anything, in a life that has been completely drained of internal meaning. Here is the actual mechanism at work. Patrick Bateman constructed his entire sense of self around markers of status: the right apartment, the right restaurants, the right business card, the right compliments from the right people. But here is what happens when you do that. You hand total control of your psychological stability to forces outside yourself. If the maitre d' at Dorsia does not recognize you, your day is ruined. If your business card is slightly less impressive than Paul Allen's, you experience it as a threat to your existence. You are no longer a person. You are a collection of status signals desperately seeking external confirmation that you matter. And when that confirmation does not come, when people confuse you with someone else or do not remember your name or do not care about your achievements, the entire structure collapses because there was never anything underneath it. Now here is where it gets deeply uncomfortable for most people. Patrick Bateman is an extreme, but the mechanism he represents is not. Right now, how much of your self-worth is tied to things other people can see? Your job title, your car, the neighborhood you live in, the clothes you wear, the places you have traveled, the people you know. If someone took all of that away tomorrow, if you were stripped of every external marker of success, would you know who you are? Most people cannot answer that question, because most people have spent so long building the white layer that they never develop the interior. And when the exterior stops generating the validation it is supposed to generate, when the promotion does not come, or the peers are not impressed, or the Instagram post does not hit, they experience it as an existential crisis, because their existence was dependent on the validation. Without it, there is nothing left. This is what hollowed a generation. Not violence, not psychopathy. The belief that your value is determined by how you compare to others. The belief that success is a performance for an external audience. The belief that if you optimize the surface, if you get the right job and the right apartment and the right business card, you will finally feel like you matter. And then the slow, creeping realization that none of it was real, that you built your entire identity on a foundation that does not exist. That you are Patrick Bateman in a world that does not care if you are Patrick Bateman or Marcus Halberstram or Paul Allen. You are interchangeable, replaceable, forgotten the moment you leave the room, and the only person who thought you mattered was you. So what do you do with this? You stop outsourcing your identity. You stop building your sense of self on comparative status. You stop performing for an audience that is not paying attention. And you ask yourself the question Patrick Bateman never asked. Who am I when nobody is looking? What do I actually value when there's no external reward attached to it? What would I do if I knew for certain that nobody would ever know I did it? Those answers, the ones that exist in complete isolation from external validation, those are the only answers that matter. Because those are the only answers that are actually yours. Everything else is borrowed. Everything else is performance. Everything else is the hollow architecture that collapses the moment the audience stops clapping. And the audience always stops clapping. If this landed, if any part of what we just broke down felt uncomfortably familiar, I have compiled the foundational principles of internal authority and identity construction into a single tactical dossier. It is called Pillar 01, the Conversation Mastery Blueprint. It is not about Patrick Bateman. It is about the exact cognitive architecture required to operate from a center of gravity that does not depend on external validation. 13 pages. Free. Linked below. This is the entry point into the archive. The first document. The one that separates the men who perform their lives from the men who actually live them. Access it. The archive does not wait.